Welcome back. Everything's gonna be okay. Today we're talking about Frutiger Arrow. Bro, a lot of people have been telling me to do this one for some time now. I'm really excited about this because it's something new, but it also fits really, really well with what we usually talk about. So let me give you the definition first, and then we'll look at pictures. Your favorite thing, looking at pictures, but we gotta do a little reading first, all right? I know you're all about the picture books. Frutiger Arrow, also known as Web 2.0 Gloss and Digital Dream Utopia, is a broad design style and aesthetic that was prevalent in advertising, media, stock imagery, and technology from roughly 2004 to 2013. Following the end of the Y2K era and overlapping with the McBling and Electropop 08 aesthetics, it is characterized by its vast use of skeuomorphism, glossy textures, cloudy skies, tropical fish, water, bubbles, glass, lens flare, sprawling patterns, humanism, aeroglass, bokeh, Frutiger fonts, abstract tech, auroras, and bright, vibrant colors, usually greens and blues. We got greens and blues. Oh, this is more of like a bluish green. This is more like a purplish blue. I'm trying to be thematic, all right, with what I've got to work with. There's a lot of words that I just read to you, so don't feel overwhelmed. It's really not that complicated. It's just this. Remember this? Remember the art that looked like this, surrounded around computers and tech? It's like they calculated what all the most friendly things to see were, and they just like smashed them all into one aesthetic that was in like all sort of tech advertising for like 10 years. I want to believe that it was partially to like make tech less scary to the old people. I think old people think tech is scary, and to be honest, tech is getting scarier, so maybe they were onto something. But you know, how could you be scared of this? Oh, sorry, do you hate fish and bubbles and birds and blue sky? Okay, grandpa. Like, look at this, man. This was just your desktop at one point in time. Everything is so glossy and blue and colorful. That classic Bliss wallpaper and this close-up picture of a leaf. It's funny how looking back at this style, you feel like it's so, in a good way, it's very obnoxious, right? It's so just loud and bright and crazy, but it felt like normal at the time. You know, I didn't think anything of this. I didn't even think it was a style. I mean, I was like 12, so I guess I wasn't thinking too much about anything, but looking back on it, it's really funny because I'm like, what the hell were they smoking back then, you know? This is the old school equivalent of like asking AI now to make the happiest picture possible, the most feel-good picture possible. Rainbows, blue skies, the clouds look like hearts. You kidding me? That's crazy. A bunch of colorful fish just chilling out, big style, glowy lights just all over the whole image, like there's just stars in the foreground somehow. Take me back, please. Take me back. It should be said before we go any further that like I don't hate modern aesthetic necessarily. I think that it's very bland a lot of the times. Like my N64 is that jungle green one that's clear. Super cool, but you would never get that on a modern console. My modern consoles are either black or they're white. I like it. I think it looks cool. There is a certain sleekness to things that I do enjoy, but all that being said, take me back. I'll go back. I'll go right now. The Galaxy S3. Bright colors. We got grass. We got sheep. Hot air balloons, for whatever reason, are a big part of this aesthetic as well. Worth mentioning. We got a dandelion. More blue sky. We got maybe a rainbow. Some lens flare. This has got everything, dude. It's got the weird like stars all over it as like a filter. Certain ones are a little unnerving almost. Like this just feels so inhuman to me. This is like an alien trying to market a phone to me. Like, come on, human, doesn't this look fun? Doesn't this look cool? So those crazy like water and dolphins and bubbles pictures, that's like the most dialed up to 11 version of it. I think it's good to see that first so you can get like how loud this style can be and kind of jog your memory on it. But there was a lot more subtle use for it as well. Windows 7 login screen. Yeah, Windows Vista, which came before Windows 7, is really what pushed this aesthetic forward. I mean, not pushed it, but it was really probably the peak of the aesthetic. And Windows Vista kind of sucked. I think we can mostly agree that it was buggy as heck and just like a mess to use. But the engineers spent their time making it look nice, not fixing it. And looking back, I'm thankful. Get it? Frutiger Arrow? Like fruit? Good one, buddy. But the reason why it's called Frutiger Arrow, and it's a very fun thing to say, try it. Try it right now. Say it out loud with me. I feel silly saying it so much all by myself. Frutiger Arrow. Frutiger Arrow. But it's called Frutiger Arrow because Frutiger was a font that was used a lot during that time by a guy named Adrian Frutiger. And to me, this looks like every font ever. I'm not the guy to ask. But Windows Arrow is the design language that was introduced for Windows Vista. It's like sort of the reason why it looked so fun and glossy. And then there was like the Windows Arrow theme, which was like the classic, the one that you know and love. I'm talking this. Remember these glossy, transparent windows? Mwah, fire. But it's called Frutiger Arrow because of those two things being a big part of that time period. And they just made that the name of the aesthetic. Now this isn't real, someone made this as art, but this is like how a lot of software looked at the time. You would download some free program to like convert a video file and you would open it up and it would look like this and you were like, I'm just here to convert a video file. Hey, yo, what the? I don't know if I had any programs that looked this goofy, but they would just sort of, for no reason other than because they thought it looked cool, make like something that easily could have been a square menu look like it was a gadget from Spy Kids. And I feel like at the time I thought nothing of it. I was like, cool, that's nice. Everything was just weirdly misshapen and glossy and three-dimensional looking, and it feels like they did it just because they could, you know? It's like computers were invented and then they were kind of like refined to where they became like a household thing, and then they were like, where do we go from here? They were like, what do old people like? They like bubble baths, so put bubbles in there. They always have pet fish, so put fish in there. They like mowing the lawn, so put a lot of green, freshly mowed grass. And then everything was this super bright colored aesthetic. And then now we kind of refined it more to where we're like, okay, not everything has to look like Mr. Clean threw up on it. It just needs to look nice. Now, Frutiger Arrow isn't just pictures like this, of course. There's finer details, like that description we read at the beginning. It was a lot of other stuff, like gradients and bokeh, which we'll talk about in a second. And like, you know, smaller details. It's like something that's just glossy. It doesn't also have to have fish and bubbles. It can just be that glossy style. So something like this would be considered Frutiger Arrow because it's very bright and colorful. It's got a lot of gradients to it. It's very glossy looking. And it's from, you know, Windows Vista, so it's like we associate with this time period. But it's not as in your face, right? There's no dolphins, but it's still Frutiger Arrow. There's no bubbles, but it's still Frutiger Arrow. And like this, a lot of gradients, a butterfly, if you look closely, colorful, gradients, bright, plants. So where did this aesthetic go? Like, what happened to it? I couldn't tell you what makes trends happen and why they start and stop and why they last as long as they do, but for whatever reason, towards the end of this time period, around 2013, things just started getting redone. A lot of companies redid their logos as more flat versions of them, more simple colors, all one color a lot of the times. iOS 7 is probably the most notable example of updating away from Frutiger Arrow type style. Like, look at iOS 6. Look how shiny every icon is. Everything's got a lot of depth to it, a lot of color. Like the Photos app is a picture of a flower with gloss and a blue sky, and then they were like, it's just kind of inspired by a flower. Still colorful, I guess, but very flat. The Messages app, so glossy. What kind of glossy messages are you gonna send with that thing? Boom. I don't know, you get the idea. So when iOS 6 got updated to iOS 7, like I remember that. I remember looking at the new icons and being like, I don't like these. I remember that being a talking point between me and like my friends. Like a lot of people around me didn't like that they overhauled all of our icons and now I couldn't recognize any of them. And I was like, where's my Photos app? It looks so different. I don't recognize it. You know, it was not a good feeling when they made the switch. I was very aware of it when it happened. Now, they didn't do away with the style completely, obviously. There's still a lot of gradients. The background is still bokeh photography with that out of focus thing. And these icons are largely the same today. There's still gradients and things, but it was dialed down to where now it was this new style. And that's great and all, but can we go back, please? Where are the fish? Where are the bubbles? I want my screen to look like this, you know? Although I guess that's just a wallpaper. I could do that. Where are the butterflies? Where are the leaves? How about this one? What do you think that water tastes like? I just wish I could be there when they came up with this. It feels like such a nonsensical combination of things to combine so many silly, fun things into like a aesthetic for like grown adults, you know? I'm not knocking it, I think it's great. But they were like, this is cool, but like, what about bubbles? This is cool, but like, what about dolphins? This image is pretty sick, but what about butterflies? Also, if this is the Earth, then where are they standing? I just realized that applies to a lot of these. If the Earth is in the background, then where are you? Something to think about. And of course, we still see this type of photography all the time, but it's not like in tech marketing, you know? It's like, yeah, your friend posts pictures like this to their Instagram, but Microsoft isn't using it to sell you Windows Vista. I feel like if they were trying to make tech seem cool and chill and not scary, they honestly kind of overshot it a little bit. There's some images where if you look at them long enough, it starts feeling almost scary. It feels so weird to think a person put this together, or people put this together. You know, they were probably almost done with it and they were like, it needs something up here. What do I put in this empty space? And they were like, I know, the freaking globe, but it's green and glossy and looks like a marble. The Nintendo store from the late 2000s. Dude. Everything's white and blue and glossy. It's glorious. This Toyota concept car from 2007 that focused on healthy living. The hell, man? Look at that, dude. You see what I mean when I say it feels AI generated, but it's weirder knowing it's not? How do you even drive this thing? What are all these buttons? Why is there a giant ball in the middle? Can you imagine rolling up to the function in this? You're either going golfing or you're going to work at Area 51. The Disney website, 2008. This is a great example. The buttons at the top being super glossy and like three-dimensional, but then they also have the like skeuomorphism icons like above them. The fact that there's so many windows and they all have to have like multiple borders on them. Everything's blue and everything's shiny. Everything's glossy.
What's going on here? Why is everything
glossy?
Everything is
glossy
in the future.
But turns out it wasn't. Actually, it's pretty flat in the future. 2002 modern classroom. There we go. We got some Apple computers in here. These were sick. My grandma had one of these. I think she had the blue one. People act like a yellow iPhone is like totally crazy. I've seen so many billboards for this stupid yellow iPhone. I'm like, big deal, bro. Back in the day, the entire computer could be pink. Oh, dude, these. I don't know if this would be considered Frutiger Arrow. It's sort of stretching it a little bit, but I want to say it is. Yeah, dude, these were great. I mean, they weren't great at the time. We thought absolutely nothing of them. I won't act like I loved this as a kid. It was soap, for crying out loud. But yeah, anyway, hopefully you get the idea. Hopefully this was interesting for you to see. It's basically just like early 2000s aesthetic, just glossy, shiny. But when you say early 2000s style, a lot of different things will come to mind. The sort of hopeful futurism aesthetic where the future was bright and green and bubbly. Sort of related to retrofuturism where like even further in the past, their vision of the future was very like fantastical. We'll probably look back on today's style in 20 years and be like, wow, that's crazy that everything was so flat and solid colored. I kind of hope so, at least. But anyway, thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed this. If you have any other suggestions for things like this, always hit me with them. It was very much the comment section that inspired me to finally do this video. I'd been thinking about it. I'd been aware of it. But then getting comments being like, you should do it, come on. A little peer pressure goes a long way. So if you have anything like that, let me know. But don't forget to like the video and subscribe if you feel like it. And I will see you guys next time. Bye-bye. Bro, this was my favorite movie as a kid.